the place I grew up, northeastern Pennsylvania. My parents, my friends, my extended family, everybody was there, and it was great. Late 60s, throughout the 1970s, just a great time to grow up. And my house was on Overbook Avenue, hence the name of the album, and that was in Shavertown, Pennsylvania, near Wilkes-Barre, which is in the Pocono Mountains area, Pennsylvania. And it was just a great time to grow up. Wow, a ton. I mean, growing up in the movie theater business was it was great. My grandfather immigrated from Greece around the turn of the 20th century, and he built Nickelodeons initially, and then went on to build neighborhood theaters and bigger, larger theaters. And I grew up in the last theater that he built in 40 Fort, Pennsylvania. And I was there with my dad and his brothers, and his youngest brother, Tyke, was a jazz pianist. And we had a piano backstage behind the screen. And he'd be back there playing, and I'd go back there and try to, pluck out the notes with him and learn those real early things. And then the piano wound up in the basement of my house because I guess I showed enough interest in it that they thought, pass it on to the kid, I guess, and that's what happened. And that's when it really took root. My musical interest really took root at that point in my life. Yeah, I knew I wanted it to be different from what I normally play with my band, which is kind of more fusion and world music, more electric, and could be complex and fiery. This music, I knew I wanted it to be more melodic, contemplative, and sort of evocative of that time and place that I grew up in, and sort of a tribute to that time. And so initially it started out on just piano, but then it kind of grew. I started to add some synthesizers, just some keyboard pads that sort of helped it along a little bit. And then my friend, and he's a great guitarist, and of course he was a co-producer on the album, John Fifield, added guitar on it on about half of the songs, and it just took it to a whole new level. Very unexpected and a lot of fun. Yeah, the soundtrack guys that I grew up with, John Williams, Bernard Herrmann, Dave Grusin, Henry Mancini, all those guys that wrote great music for movies and television, a huge influence. And also classical music, which came from my dad. He was the big fan of the Russian composers, the French composers, kind of passed that on to me. So there was a lot of influence outside of jazz and Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and all those guys that I love. So it really did expand it. Yeah, I really wanted to get into the production side of movies, script writing, directing, and but I kind of got into radio after the theater closed. I found myself working in radio, which was great, and but I still was writing all the time. And finally, I co-wrote a script that at age 44, I finally sold. And the movie was made in Hollywood, and it wound up being Leslie Nielsen's last film. It was a comedy, and it was just a great, surreal experience doing that. But what's more exciting now is watching my son, fourth generation connected to movies, make his film. And I got a chance to score it for him, and it's just coming out now, and it's great. He did a great job on it, and he had some real high expectations I tried to meet, and hopefully I did. Well, I have short-term goals, long-term goals. Got a fusion album coming out in 2017 with the group, with Earth Code, and I've played on some other people's albums here over the past couple of months, and continue to do that. So going to be staying pretty busy. I've got a lot of music mapped out actually for the next couple of years, a lot of kind of variety of music. So that's kind of the what's on the horizon over the course of the next couple of years. And I hope to continue to work with my son Peter, who's followed the path now into movies, and hopefully get to work with him in all kinds of creative aspects, and in particular music. So it's exciting. I think if you always remain a student, it really makes it worthwhile.